Dude.
Entering your body and emanating out from your chest.
I need to start drinking. I just have one question. What did you do last summer?
I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 is the fourth installment in the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise. And as I had mentioned in my trailer thoughts video for this movie, the original two were repeat watches in my household when I was a kid, especially the second one. The third one I never saw, and I still haven't to this day. I might give it a watch and maybe a review at some point, but I never bothered with it. But because I was such a fan for those original two, I was excited for this one. And I shouldn't have been. Straight up, I shouldn't have been at all. This is not good whatsoever. I wouldn't say there's nothing salvageable about it, but it is aggressively okay. And that's really about it. It's underwhelming and aggressively okay. And in a sense, that's worse than if it was just a bad slasher movie, because at least when a slasher movie is bad, you can at least have fun with the violence, and the violence isn't fun in this either. I kept hearing that, oh, the kills in this are brutal and the violence is really good. It's not. It's boring. A lot of this movie is pretty boring. I like the cast okay. To my knowledge, it's a cast of no names, but I assume that they're actors that are on TV or something. I don't know, but I mean, they were fine. The characters themselves were fine, and they performed well, and so it made watching this go down a lot easier. But man, this was not very good to sit through at all. I'm a big slasher fan, and that's what had me immediately, is the fact that, hey, it's the reboot or a sequel to a slasher franchise that I enjoyed as a kid and as a younger person, right? And especially those like late 90s, early 2000s era ones. Like if the poster had like a group of like 20-something hotshot actors with like the killer or some kind of like scary image above them, and they're all staring directly down the barrel of the camera with serious expressions, you got me hooked. You see what I did there? Because I'm talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it's because of that I, just like with Scream 5 and Halloween 2018, I was ready for this movie to be the one that brings back a slasher franchise that I love, return it to its former glory. Let's go. Let's show the new slashers how it's done. And it didn't. And that was so disappointing. So, what's this one about? Well, it doesn't really tread much of new ground, which what makes it sort of a reboot more than a sequel. But you got these group of young people that are all joining each other for their friend's wedding rehearsal or something like that. And they decide to all have a night out together. They're all in school together, and they're all back together for this wedding rehearsal because two of their friends are getting married. And they decide to go out and have a night of fun. And decide to stop in the middle of this road on top of a hill with the cliff to watch fireworks, because that's where you do that, I guess. And one of them is being kind of an obnoxious a-hole and is like, "Woo, I'm standing out in the road. What are you gonna do? Woo, I'm so crazy." And a couple of cars pass by, and they beg him to move. He doesn't. They have to push him out of the way. And this happens like 2-3 times before the inevitable car that is gonna careen off the cliff happens. Like, you see it coming a mile away. So of course, one of the cars is a truck, comes by, they have to swerve out of the way to not hit this D-bag, and he gets hanging off of a cliff. They try to save him. The person in the truck busts out the window, grabs onto one of their overshirts, and like the hero this guy is, he slips out of the overshirt and the truck goes over, and then they all decide, okay, we're going to go ahead and pretend this didn't happen. Everyone just shut up. Then a year passes by, and they're all gathered again for another wedding thing, because the friend that was getting married the year before, I guess she and the other guy, the one that was dancing out in the road, didn't work out. But I didn't realize that at first, because this new guy that she's going to marry comes out and, hugs up on her, and he looks, from the angle, he looks exactly like the last guy, so I couldn't even tell at first until they mentioned that he wasn't the guy. It was like they got two actors that look almost alike. Anyway, at this other wedding rehearsal, the girl that was getting engaged before gets a note. What do you know? What could it possibly say, right? And of course, they're all freaking out. They start putting some things together, and then of course, as you do, they start getting picked off one by one. Now, the narrative that they try to put here about the town of Southport and how the events of the 97 movie are kind of hidden and erased and relegated to like myth and legend is kind of cool, but they don't really do much with it. When it gets to the climax and it reveals who the killer is and everything, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm just going to spoil this whole thing, by the way, because I can't get into why I'm so disappointed in this without getting into it. So, one of the fishermen ends up being one of the actual cast members, a girl named Stevie, who gets this whole exposition dump in the beginning of the movie. It kind of telegraphs it from far away that it's going to come back around because it's so detailed, but it's so clunkily put together too. Whatever. But it comes back around, and it turns out that she was picking up her friends because the person that was in the truck that careened over, that they left for dead, was a friend of hers or her boyfriend or something. So this is part of what doesn't make any sense. If it was someone she recognized, how did she not know it first? Because they mention later on, when she reveals that she's the killer and she's giving her whole spiel as to why she did what she did, she's talking as if like she didn't find out till later. But how would she not have known? I don't know. It didn't make any sense. And then it gets worse. It turns out that Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr. from the original movies, was helping her, and he's the real fisherman. Now, here's the thing. In my trailer thoughts video for this, I had mentioned I don't really know how they could pull this story off unless, like, Ray is the fisherman or something. That could work if the fisherman turned out to be Ray or something. I predicted that, and they do that. And it's a cool idea, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, it's as if they're trying to do this whole thing where it's like a victim of trauma is like, bruh, trying to relive it or something. But I mean, if you wanted to do that, why would you include this thing with the girl and it doesn't make any sense. Or at least the movie thinks it does, and it's super convoluted about it. Now, you may have noticed that by now, I've actually said not a word about Jennifer Love Hewitt's Julie James at all. That's because there's not much to say at all. She's in the trailer, and of course the trailer makes it out to be like, oh my god, they got her back. She's in this movie. What could she possibly do? What could be her role? Nothing. She's the one that, she's the exposition person. And it's so underwhelming, and it sucks. Jennifer Love Hewitt herself in this looks great, and she is great herself in the performance. She's a good actor, and Julie James, she just slips into this role great, but they didn't give her anything to do in the writing. She just tells the main girl, you gotta take this fisherman out, you gotta do it before he gets you. And that's really about it. Ray and Julie are in this for the nostalgia, and that's really about it. And then Ray, turns heel, and he's the real fisherman. And then Julie comes in at the end to help the final girl against Ray, and Julie says what are you waiting for? and then Ray dies. Yeah, so I don't really have much to say in the way of this movie story, because it was just a big nothing. I didn't hate this. I didn't hate this movie, but I really didn't like it very much. And I would go back to it. I would watch it again because, as I mentioned, there are elements to this movie that are quite good. The fact that the cast is actually so well performed and the narrative behind this sort of like lackluster execution is so interesting. I just wish this movie was written a lot more intricately and a lot better than it is, because as is, the way it stands, it's a big old, it's a big old nothing. I think at this point, I don't have much else to say except for the fact that after I got out of the movie, because I just got up and left as soon as the movie allowed me to, there's a post-credit scene, and I did look into it, and it's rather interesting. So the entire movie, I'm wondering, are they going to acknowledge the events of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, like, at all? Are they going to acknowledge it? And they don't, but this post-credit scene actually shows that Brandy's character from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is back, is going to be coming back in some capacity. Now, I don't think they're going to make another one of these, and if they do, I hope they learn from this one and actually make something kind of interesting. But I find that interesting that Brandy's coming back. She, alongside Ray and Julie, was one of the only survivors of that second movie. And just, interested to see what they're going to do with her, if they do anything at all, because they didn't do anything with Julie. So what could they have in store for us? Who knows? But yeah, those are my thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025. It's not good. Don't waste your time. Wait for streaming. You'll have enough fun with it there. But I hand it off to you. What do you think of slasher movies in general? Are you a fan of them? What do you think of the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise? Let me know down in the comments. Let's talk everything horror, slashers, I Know What You Did Last Summer, down there in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.
And we never mention this again.
Mention what?
The guy we just killed.
Well, you just mentioned it, Greg.
Starting now!